In this tutorial we're going to set up a Vagrant environment to develop Phalcon PHP applications. As this is a useful tutorial just in its own right, not only will I publish this in the Udemy course for the Phalcon PHP development course, but I will also just put this on YouTube so people can just look at it before they purchase the course, or can just use it just on its own. So this tutorial is serving two purposes. Some things I say may be slightly out of context for the video situation, but you'll just have to put up with that. So what you need to do is, first of all, we need to download Vagrant if you haven't got it already. So just click that big download button there, and this really here demonstrates the reason why I'm using Vagrant for my tutorial, because we're cross-platform here, and what I do here can be replicated across different platforms. You'll need Vagrant. We're going to use Git Bash, so if you search for the Git Bash download, you will be presented with this website here, git-scm.com downloads, and again we're cross-platform, so in my case I'd want the Windows one. The setup's not too difficult or mind-blowing, so I'm not going to go through that. Similarly for these, it's not something that you can't do really on your own, or can't even get help with if it's not going right for you. And with these two things, we are going to set up a development environment with Vagrant, which uses VirtualBox. You'll need VirtualBox from virtualbox.org. Click on the downloads, and again we're cross-platform. It's free. All of this is free, and so it's no extra cost to you. We have a repository here, which I'll leave a link along with links to these, where I have set up a development environment that installs various things, more noticeably Percona, which is a MySQL server, which tends to perform, so they claim, better than the standard MySQL server that you get with most LAMP stacks and what have you. And PHP 5.4 I'm installing from webstatic.com, and here we go through various things to make sure that your Vagrant box is going to work for you. This might confuse you at the end. I'll explain that later when we get to that. Okay, so once you have all these things installed, create just a folder. I'm using Phalcon tutorial because this is what I'm using in the entire course on Udemy, and you just need to clone this repository. So we'll just copy that to clipboard there, go back into here, and we'll git clone, press insert to paste what you copied before, another space, and insert a dot just to indicate that you want it in the current directory. I have a passphrase on my key, so I just need to put that in. And if we list what we have in there, we have a Vagrant file, a Bootstrap, a MySQL setup file, and a test PHP file, so we can make sure everything's working. So I just want to open up my Sublime Text editor, and you can have a look what's in here. I'll just close these so we don't get confused. Okay, so in the MySQL setup, this is just to create a user called admin and grant all options and everything, so we can log into the database on the Vagrant box and I use Heidi SQL for this, so you'll see that in a moment. The Vagrant file, if you set it to Ruby, it's easier to read because it is a Ruby file. I've set up a kind of an options section here, which interacts with the actual script down here. So a host name, you probably want to be a bit more specific to your own needs than that, but for this setup period, just leave it at Phalcon local. We do want 2 gigs. If it's too low, if the memory is too low, then Phalcon fails to compile. It needs at least 1 gig, I think, and like kind of running so it can fit it all in. But I've had problems with less than 1 gig, so 2048 I've put in there. I have 4 cores on my laptop. If you're not sure, just set what you have, just set this to 1, but I imagine you do know what you have. Obviously you can't go higher than the amount of cores you have. This port should be fine for now. If you have more than 1 Vagrant thing running, they all need their own separate ports. The IP address I've picked, is just incidental, but I've gone for 110 at the end. That's up to you. We do want a true, and we do want to load the bootstrap. We're using the Chef CentOS 6.5 VM box, which we don't need a location or URL for, because this will come straight from the Vagrant cloud. And then all this is kind of just, employed down here. Okay. So in the test, if you put info equals yes in your URL, you'll get a PHP info, which I'll show you, and otherwise you just get a little message. That's the README, and the Bootstrap goes through installing the Percona, MySQL server, and the entire stack that we need, and everything that we need for installing Phalcon, and then getting that set up within the box itself, and then we just start the services up, and then we delete this file. This is a bit of a hack. We're going to package this box up and save it, and if this file exists, it's unable to kind of set the host name when you do a Vagrant up again. So as a quick hack, just delete it, because CentOS recreates it for you. Okay, so that's the quick explanation done. So all we need to do once we have cloned this is we just need to say, what do we need to say? Vagrant up, and set this thing going. Now I have on here a plugin that you might want to install on Vagrant before you do this. Actually, I should have mentioned this before, I'm sorry. And it's, I might already have it open. Yes, I do here. Okay. This here will make sure that your VirtualBox guest editions is right. If there's any kind of difference, if there's any problems, it deals with it. It's really handy. You should be well above Vagrant 1.1 by now, and this is the command to install it. We can see it working probably now. Oh, no, not quite yet. And basically it just upgrades your guest editions if you need to, if you've downloaded VirtualBox recently. I'll open up VirtualBox. You don't need to open up VirtualBox for this to work, but if I just have this open, this manager open, you'll be able to see the box launching. But you can leave it closed as long as you have it installed. This should all work fine. So you see, it's just entered it there. It's given it the name that's in the Vagrant file. This makes it a bit easier to kind of package it when we come to package it after this is all finished. And at this point, the guest editions plugin is going to kick in, and it's going to look at what guest editions has come with this Chef CentOS 6.5 box. Once it's started up, there we go, and now it'll kick in. You see, now it's detected that we have two different versions, so now it's going to deal with that situation. Whilst this is running, we're going to need to set a host name. I'd like it to be available for when it sets its host name. Sorry, I'd like to resolve internally. So I'm using this program called Host File Editor. Really useful piece of software. You can get this from hostfileeditor.coplex.com, and it's just a download and an install. Launch it. What you do is you put in your entries. You can see that's stuff that I'm using there with my WAMP. So we go to our Vagrant file and copy the IP address we selected and put that in the first box there, and then in the second box our host name. Can be anything really, but just be sensible with it, and then just click save, and now Phalcon local will resolve to the IP address that we want. If we check back on this progress, it's still updating. There's 120 to deal with, but it looks like it's just nearly finished now. Okay, so our Percona install has happened, and you get a big red section. Don't worry about that. That's okay. I just thought I'd mention that, and don't worry about that either. Here we're going through all the software that we need to review the software. Just look in the bootstrap file. I mean, you can alter this if you want to add some more things. Then put them around here somewhere, or wherever you need to put them. But this is pretty minimal. So if you need some extra things, you need to stick them on the end of here really. If you go to this website 5.4, you can see other things listed on the page that it presents you with. Here, all the things that are available in this repository, in this package, sorry, are just listed here, and it's generally PHP 5.4W preceding what you need, but there's quite a lot in here. So back to our Vagrant box. We're just installing Phalcon as a PHP extension now. It's compiling it, and then it will kind of set up the files that it needs to do. It'll just make a ini file for it. It needs to be ZZ underscore, so it's loaded last, and it just adds that to the file. And then we're going to start all the services and add them to the startup. Once this is finished, which will be done very, very soon, then we can give it a quick test, and eventually we've reached the end of our setup. So a few things we want to test. We want to see if the web server is working. So I'll go back to here. If we go to, what did we call our host? I've forgotten now. I'll just put that back to what it was. We called it Phalcon.local. So I'll just copy that. HTTP and then Phalcon.local. Okay, and that's just the standard kind of default page that you get. If we navigate to test.php, you get the time You want to check that that's correct, which it is for me, and you just add info equals yes, and you'll get a PHP info. We can see that we have 5.433, and if we scroll down to the P's, you want to see Phalcon installed there. The next thing we want to do is we want to package this up for ourselves, because that's quite a long process for that box to go through every time you want to start a new project or something. You don't want to be sitting waiting for that to complete, but it's still worth having it, just so you get the like the latest kind of software downloaded. So every now and again run the bootstrap sh file, just because you want to keep things updated. But if you're launching a lot of projects all the time, then maybe you just want to limit that, and maybe you want to make an update sh and put it in there. Okay, so what you would do now at this point is you would maybe make that false if you don't want to load it. Depends on your situation. You may want to change this file. There's all kinds of different directions. I'm not going to advise you on that. I'll be here all day. What we want to do now is we want to make a package. So I'm just going to... No, I'm not going to move directories. We just want to type in Vagrant package and then option base, and then we use the name here. And now this is why changing the name was so handy. So we say base Phalcon.local, and I think if this goes wrong, I apologise. Local, and then name Phalcon box, whatever name you want, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so just to get rid of that, sorry, my fault. I don't use it very often, so I often forget. And then it will go through its thing again, and this takes a little while, so I'm going to pause the video. So we've got to the stage where now it's compressing the package.box file for us, and you can open this in something like WinRAR and see what's in there. At this point now, you'll see there that we have the package.box. We just want to add this as a box to our Vagrant. So we type Vagrant box add, we give it a name, so I'm going to call it Phalcon. I'm just going to call it Phalcon, Phalcon PHP, and then we say which file we want to use. Hopefully I've got this the right way around. Okay, yeah, I did, and it adds this as a box to your local Vagrant kind of environment. Okay, so that's all set up now. Right, from there, the way that you'd use this was just issue a Vagrant destroy the box that we just made. We go back to our file, Vagrant file I should say, and now what we can do is we can say this is false, we don't want to run this. Keep it at 110 in that port, and I'll keep all this the same, but what I will change now is I can just say Phalcon PHP, and we can just load the box from our local Vagrant. I'll just say yes to that, and I'll just show you that now it's disappeared. So now we can go Vagrant up and hopefully this works. If not, we might have to tweak it a little bit. So this is completed. I will give this a quick check again. So if we go back to our PHP info screen, you can see that it's still working. I'm going to open up Heidi SQL. I have a temp kind of thing here. I'll just get rid of that. And what I want to do is I want to ask for Phalcon.local. And I just want admin and no password. This was set up in the Bootstrap, and if I open this, I'll say yes. You can see here that we have a MySQL database with Percona. Got the version down here, and you can create all the databases you need in there. And that's it really. Once you have finished developing, you type Vagrant halt, and it will stop the machine, keep it live for you. So you can see there it's shutting down. Okay, and then when you're ready to start developing again, it's just Vagrant up, and it will start up, and it'll be a lot quicker because the machine is already, you know, created for you and sitting there. I'd have about 10 to 20 gig if you're a busy developer, kind of always available for this process and for developing. But when you get in at the start of the day, it's only going to take you about 30 seconds to a minute to get your environment back up, and then once you throw it up to your server, probably, or it may be a CentOS server, it should be, you know, fine for you. You're not going to get any of this. Well, it works on Windows, but it's not working on Linux situations, and with 2 processors in the memory, it should be pretty fast as well. Okay, so that's setting up a development environment with Vagrant for Phalcon PHP. If you are watching on the course, then I shall see you in the next tutorial, where we will actually get started, do a hello world thing. Otherwise, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, and thanks for watching. Bye.